real cases before a real judge.
Plaintiff India Collier met the defendant through her job, and she claims he caught her at a vulnerable time in her life. India says after they had sex a couple of times, she gave the defendant a loan, but she's suing because he failed to repay her. Defendant Anthony Ross insists India pursued a relationship with him, and although he admits that she did give him money, he claims she told him that he didn't have to worry about repaying her.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Give me some background here.
I actually have my own cleaning service, and I clean houses, and I also clean like different buildings and things, barbershops, anything that I can actually get scheduled.
Where?
In Albany, Georgia.
Oh, okay. You have a company name?
From hoarders to home.
Say that first word again.
From like where you
Second
from?
word.
Hoarders to home. Like hoarders, like, do you know the show, the Hoarders show?
Oh, yeah.
So
no, I didn't think you were saying nothing like that. I was quite just trying to understand what you're saying. Okay.
Yes, sir. From hoarders to home. I like to take big jobs and like renovate them into like a whole new house. So that's my specialty, to go in and do that.
Why are you laughing, boy? You're gonna get yourself in trouble, man.
I just figured out what you were.
No, you don't figure nothing out. You ain't figured nothing out that I did.
Help me figure it out.
No, sir, don't put me in your mess. You in trouble all by yourself. All right, ma'am. That's good.
And so I actually got a gig at a barbershop. And at this specific barbershop that I got a gig at, Mr. Ross was working at the actual barbershop. So it was on a Sunday, and it really wasn't supposed to be anybody in the barbershop because that's what the owner told me, nobody would be there. And when I pulled up, I couldn't even pull in the actual barbershop good before Mr. Ross, this big burly guy, just comes running out to my vehicle like, we don't want no cookies today. We ain't buying no cookies. And I wasn't even there to sell cookies. I know I don't even look like a Girl Scout.
Oh, he said that to you?
Yes, he came out. He was like, we don't want to buy no cookies today. Ain't no barbers in here but me. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not even here to sell cookies. I'm actually here to clean up. Mm-hmm. And so he went back in the barbershop. I think he might even still had the clippers in his hand when he ran out the door. So I'm like really confused about that. And so then once I got into the barbershop, he was apologizing and everything. Like, he was very apologetic after it happened. But I let him know I don't even eat cookies. Like, I don't even like cookies. And I know I don't look like I sell cookies. So that's how I actually met the defendant.
Mm-hmm. And how did it go after you all met?
Downhill, uphill, downhill, down another hill. But they say life has peaks and valleys, and he was a valley. So that's how it went.
All right. You give me some background, sir.
So she came to the shop. There's a lady that had the same, and I explained it to her already. It was a woman that had a similar vehicle. She sold cookies. A lot of vendors come to the shop. I saw her, the shop was closed. I didn't know that the owner told her that. So when I went out to let her know we weren't buying no cookies, she was like, and I'm like, and I did apologize because I thought she was a vendor selling cookies. I didn't know she was a cleaning lady. And then, so.
It didn't end there, though.
No.
Valley.
So since we talking about valleys, I sat up here, was at the club. It was a Sunday night. She came in. I was standing with some friends. She came in, one of her homegirls, and she walked up to me, and she was like, I don't look like no cookie lady, now do I?
That's right. She was hot that night, doctor. That's right.
So I paused because
she had her outfit on.
And so I said, I already apologized to you about that. Or I'm just letting you know, bop, bop, bop. And her friend thought, we were finna get into it. I'm like, no.
Let him finish.
Okay.
And her friend asked what was going on, and I guess as they walked out, she was trying to explain to her, and then she gonna whisper into my, you like what you see, huh? And I couldn't say no, I was shocked. So I just leaned back, and I just chilled my friend for the rest of the night.
Did y'all start dating or not?
Well, what happened was she sent me a friend request on Facebook. We started hanging out, and then she came over to my place a couple times. We had a situation here or there, and then I turned around and had a money situation. When I went to her about the loan, I asked her, could she help? She said yes. And
All right, let's get to the your version of the friendship. You tell me how the friendship went, and then we'll get to the loan.
Okay. It was not a club. It was the American Legion, and it was on a Sunday night when the elderly go to do karaoke. And so I was there because I sing myself, and I went with my friend. Yes, I did. But when I saw him, my friend never thought we was about to fight, never thought nothing like that. Because why would I actually told him to lean down and whisper in his ear. So it wasn't even no altercation or nothing like that. And then it was that same night that he actually gave me his phone number. I didn't send him a friend request on Facebook. Me and him not even friends on Facebook or social media. To this day, we not.
Let's get to the dating.
Oh, okay. My aunt had just died, and I had just met him like a couple of days before, and he wanted to come and comfort me at my home.
Oh, so that was some pity sex.
There you go.
Okay.
It was. He caught me when I was very vulnerable, Judge. He caught me at a vulnerable time when I hadn't lost that many family members, and I lost an aunt. And so he was like, well, let me just come over and let me just hang out with you so you can feel better. So that's how we started dating. And we dated it happened twice, but...
And it wasn't making you feel better.
Nah, and you know how the first time you think it's like a...
He said, I'm going to go get me an aspirin. This ain't working.
Goody powder, back and body, because it didn't even work out. That's the kind I needed. And also, okay, so he came to visit, and we were friends, and I was actually about to get ready to go out of town for the funeral. And it was like, he knew I had money at that time, but we was about to go to the funeral. He knew I was on the way to my family house, and he just called out the blue, and he was like, hey, I know you about to go, basically, but can you loan me this $275?
That was the wrong time.
It was the wrong time. And then it was COVID. It was COVID. Yeah. And I go to the bank line long, so my family members waiting on me trying to get the loan.
Doing all this right before the funeral. You're out there in line, waiting on, and ain't even getting no comfort.
No comfort. None. No comforting was done.
You could have gave up some comfort.
Something. I got cussed out more than I got comforted.
Sir?
I promise I ain't never seen a lot like that. So I didn't ask to come to her house. She invited me to her house. I sat up here, came over, didn't know we were going to lead to sex. And then one day she brought me lunch. I didn't ask her to bring me lunch. She volunteered on her own and brought the lunch. Wow. So, yeah.
Did you ask to borrow money from her while she was on the way to her loved one's funeral?
Yes.
That was insensitive.
Sir. Okay.
You were that desperate for money? You could have borrowed it from someone else.
Well, I couldn't have borrowed it from nobody else, and at the time when I asked
her,
when I went to her, I asked her, could she do me a favor? I didn't aggravate her, I didn't stalk her.
I know, but that's a distraction. She said she had to go to the bank for you and everything. So you were being inconsiderate. That's my observation, even based on what you said. It's not against the law. It doesn't have an effect on the case, but I'm just making that observation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what do you say to the loan? Repaying it.
The day that the money was given, I explained to her that I didn't know when I could pay it back. At the time, she said not to worry about it.
How long ago was that?
That's false, Your Honor. The day of the loan.
That was May of 21?
That is correct. And it was on May the 14th of 2021.
Well, was there an agreement as to when it would be paid?
He actually told me he'll pay me back in 3 weeks. You could have $20, $25 a haircut. You could have paid me the $275
Why haven't you paid it yet, sir?
No explanation.
Okay. He didn't have any defense to paying, so at least he's not sitting up here trying to deny he borrowed it or lie about paying you. So I respect that. And so he's a decent guy. You don't want to get back?
I'm okay.
This is a nice man.
You think so, Judge?
Yeah, he didn't lie about his debts to you. He's
Okay.
the man who stands up to his debts.
Okay.
He's the man that he's not saying anything negative about you as a person. Believe me, I see these men coming in here talking about these women like a dog. He didn't do any of that.
We didn't know each other long
He
enough
talked
for
about
him
you like
to
a
do
dog when he met you.
that. Okay.
Cookie lady.
Cookie lady, right. Cookie
But
monster.
then he redeemed himself for that. Started
But-
coming over there with some comfort.
No, Judge. Okay, I'm not trying to kill his character, or I'm just letting you know why I don't want him personally. Any woman in the world probably could be happy.
Why?
Because it's you try to play poor mouth, like broke mouth. On social media, you all at shops working, and if you actually go look at my evidence on page 3 and 4, you will see the kind of person that he is and the kind of character that he has, as far as telling the truth or where you are, or if you tell a lie.
Listen to you. Hey, are you busy?
What
Got
they say?
time to do a little comforting?
No.
You say, okay, just say, you did say, are you busy? That mean the same thing.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. What you asking the
That
man
does
if
not
he's
mean
busy
that.
for? It's been 3 weeks since I've had.
Oh, Judge.
Oh, do you have? It's been 3
Uh-huh.
weeks. Do you have any money? Okay.
No. Do you have the money to repay that $275
All right, let me take my glasses
loan?
off. I'm sorry.
You see it.
Now I know I'm reading this right.
Which
My
part?
door will remain open if you need any more.
You put them glasses
that was
back
him.
on, Judge. We need you a new prescription.
Happy Father's Day. Here's another day. Good evening.
Yep.
How are you?
Yep.
You ain't said a word. Oh, you did say something about the money a couple of days earlier, but
I
you
did.
forgot about that money by this time.
I was even being nice. If you see on page 4 at the top, how are you? He says, trying to make it. Read what I said after that, Judge. What I say to him.
I understand that completely. Would you like to come and work it off?
That's not what you
Would you like to do a payment plan? Same thing.
That is not the same. You want me to read it?
Yes.
Because I know I can read.
Yes.
I understand that completely. Would you like to do a
Come and do
payment plan for the
and
loan?
It's hard. What?
Would you like to do a payment plan for the loan? It would be easier because I know it's hard for all of us right now.
Like I said,
Yes,
I
you
know
right.
it's hard.
It wasn't too hard to take my money though. So, here we are.
I know it might be hard, but he's a good man. It might be hard sometimes.
Life gets hard, that's true.
sometimes. Have a good day. Justice for the plaintiff.
Are you enjoying Chicago?
Bored out of my mind.
You can't be bored.
I've been sitting in the hotel room bored.
Right.
Y'all.
But you in Chicago though, you ain't in Albany or Columbus, whoever knows, wherever you live.
Plaintiff Karen Elliott Clark works with at-risk youth, and she also has a passion for poodles. Karen claims she decided to breed her male poodle with the defendant's female dog, and she was supposed to get 2 puppies from the litter, but she only got 1, so she's suing. Defendant Jasmine Sanford has been a pet stylist for 10 years, and she recently opened her own grooming salon. Jasmine insists she never guaranteed that Karen would get 2 puppies, and she gave her 1 puppy, so she owes her nothing. She's countersuing for lost wages.
Start with you.
My name is Karen Elliott Clark. I was born here in the city of Chicago, raised in a household of 2 parents. And despite me being raised in that household before the age of 15, I was a mother of 2 children. As a result of this early age experience, I went on and strived to do better things with my life, became a cosmetologist, instructor, as well as a barber instructor. I began providing volunteer services to teenage girls at risk. And I did this for the sole purpose of my daughter being able to hear things and not get dissuaded in her goals, to be able to surpass some things that teenagers come in contact with. In the course of me doing this, I gathered a passion for working with at-risk individuals. I went on to pursue my education in behavior health. I achieved also a degree in business administration. I have a passion for poodles. I have a passion for dogs.
Yeah, oh.
And I've
Oh, you
had
said
dogs.
You had a passion for fools, and that's why you're here. I'm much far from a fool.
I have a passion for poodle dogs. I have a passion for dogs.
People have said I'm a dog back in the day.
Yeah, I start having dogs for pets. So,
You had them as men before that? Tell the truth.
metaphorically. So again, and in light of my reasons for being here, I was taking my dog to grooming.
Let me
And
stop you and just compliment you, one, on your passion and your service. It's always a good thing for folks to help others overcome the obstacles that they had. The obstacles that you had, 2 children prior to age 15, certainly inspired you to want to help the other girls avoid premature adulthood. That's how I would describe it. So thanks for doing that.
thank you. I have currently right now over 20-some years helping individuals in the field of behavior health and substance abuse disorder.
Good. You tell me, give me some background on yourself.
My name is Jasmine Sanford. I'm 27 years old. I'm a pet stylist of 10 years. I've been grooming since I was 18 years old. I started at a big box store a year ago. I competed on HBO, and I actually won that competition against 2 amazing groomers. The dog I actually groomed was a black poodle. I used to groom her old black poodle.
Okay.
That dog is also the cover photo for the HBO show. So I'm really good at what I do.
What's the name of the show?
Hot Dog, Haute.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yep. So I'm on episode 11 if you want to go watch.
Yeah, I do.
So also, thank you. This year, I recently opened a dog grooming salon in South Shore. I'm the only dog
What's the
grooming
name of
salon.
it?
It's called Royal Paws.
Royal?
Yes, that's my dog's name, so Royal Paws.
Okay.
I'm doing really, really well. I've been open for 3 weeks. I actually had to close today due to come here, and my clients are pretty upset about that. I'm a really great groomer. I do really well. That's why Miss Carrie Elliott reached out to me 8 years after us not talking.
And tell me what happened then, ma'am.
So as stated, there was a time lapse in our communication. She explained to me that she was reaching out to start her own business. I took her phone number, wished her well, and later on I got in touch with her because I have a new dog and I wanted her to groom that dog. In March of 2021, we made an agreement to breed our dogs. And in that agreement, we talked about how the puppies would be distributed. And in that agreement, I didn't care how many puppies were born. I only wanted 2. She insisted that it would only be 4 puppies that would be born, and out of the 4, I would get 1. And I said, no, there would be 6, and I would get 2. And I didn't care about even distribution of the dogs.
Let me ask, you can determine the number of dogs?
You cannot determine the number of dogs that will
So
be.
you said you were very specific though. You said
I-
either 6 or either 4, and what?
Right, and my reason for doing that is because she was standing on that it would only be 4 dogs.
That's not-
and
that's
my
not true.
response was that
That's not true.
excuse me while I talk right now. I said I never thought about the dog giving 4 puppies. I was more familiar with dogs giving 6 puppies, and from the 6 puppies, I only want 2.
I'm unfamiliar altogether
Yeah.
how many a dog has. I thought you can't determine.
You can't.
Can you determine?
I can't determine.
Actually, she knows nothing about breeding, sir. She actually wanted a black poodle from 2 white dogs, which makes no sense. Which makes no sense.
You're absolutely correct. What my comment
Okay,
on
so
that
I'm talking
area
now.
was,
I'm talking
what my
now.
comment was is because I had a black poodle, I had just lost a black poodle. My desire and my heart is in the line of a black poodle.
How would
I
you
know
get a
that
black
those
poodle
2
from 2
dogs
white dogs?
together couldn't produce a black dog. I don't know 100%. because dogs
Don't
have
know
puppies.
how to-
No, I
Come
don't,
on
because
now.
I see dogs that have puppies all different colors. However, the dog that I have
They're
now,
usually from different colored dogs.
yeah,
They're white and
there is
apricot.
Jasmine is trying to misconstrue some information and get away from what we're here
Let's do
about
this.
today.
Okay, well, let's
Let's
put that
Let's play
aside
ball.
and get
Yeah.
back to what your expectations were.
My thing was 6 puppies, I get 2. Mm-hmm. And we can look on page
What
5,
if it had been
5
7
and
puppies?
6. I still wanted 2.
What about 5?
2.
How if that's not 6?
2 puppies.
How if that's not
because-
6,
And
ma'am?
my rationale for that, Your Honor, is this. She was stout that there will only be 4 puppies.
That's not true.
And as the 4, we can look at
That's
your
not
text. We
true.
can look at your text messages,
do it.
Jasmine.
We're gonna look at the evidence
and your
in a minute.
conversation that
Okay.
you had with me,
Okay.
because
Okay. I'm ready for
there
you.
was no verbal conversation. It
Okay,
was all
yes, there
did
was.
through
Yes,
text
there
because
was.
she's a
Yes, there
younger
was. I
woman.
have a
Let me
witness.
allow her to
However-
give me a little more clarity
let's-
since she has a little more expertise than both of us. You go ahead.
All right, Judge. So we did discuss if these dogs bred and they had 6 puppies, that she would take 2. I'm
Thank
totally fine with that.
That's
if.
true.
This is Peter's first breeding, and actually you can determine a number if your dog has bred before. So her dog has never bred before. I pretty much
Yeah,
made
but
her
I have
dog a
other
stud.
dogs that
So
only had the
anyways,
first breed
so
and had
pretty
10
much
puppies.
I'm helping her out. So on May 15th, my dog gave birth. She gave birth to 5 living puppies. The first dog came out
She
dead
birthed
on
6.
arrival. She birthed 6. The first dog came out dead on arrival. That hurt my soul. I cried for 30 minutes. I had to get it together. I had her come over after all the puppies were here, and I told her we lost one. She argued with me a little bit, but she said, you know what? I'm not going to argue with you anymore about
Absolutely,
it.
because
I'll
I was
take
gonna
one
file
dog.
breach of contract.
I'm going to talk to my husband.
Argue with you about what?
She argued that she deserves 2
2
dogs,
puppies.
even though she birthed 6 and one was dead on
2
arrival.
puppies.
So I
Because
told her,
it's a
no,
breach
that's
of
not
contract.
gonna work. She actually agreed. I actually have a witness statement from my brother here because
Saying what?
that she agreed to 1 pup because the dogs were
Because I
birthed
was in
at-
your house and I could not
They
go
were
back and
birthed-
forth
they
with
were
you
birthed- Why are you
about
talking over
your
me, Miss Elliott?
situation.
They
and,
were
and
birthed at my brother's home.
Do you
Yeah.
remember? Do you remember chastising her about talking while you were
This
talking?
is what she was doing.
And now you're doing exactly
Yeah.
what you asked her
So,
not to do
page-
times 5.
Page
Yes.
17, there's a witness statement from my brother stating that he was there when she said she was fine with 1 dog.
I never
She
said I was
also
fine.
texted me on page 5 on the 16th of May saying, hi, Jasmine, I am taking a girl. I would like to pick her out.
That was because
She then
you had
came-
told me
she
I
then-
couldn't get
excuse
but
me,
one, and if
she
I
then
didn't come and
came
get
to
that
my
one, you
home.
were gonna sell
She
it.
then
And yes,
came-
I wanted my puppies.
So what evidence did you want to direct me to, ma'am? So far, she has shown me 2 pieces of evidence where you acknowledged that it would be 1 and you accepted that.
I
That's also on
acknowledge-
page 9
Your Honor,
as
I only
well.
acknowledged that because I was in her home and she had thrown down, put up her defense that I wasn't going to get but 1. I could not take the puppies at that time because they were still.
You have to take any of them. If there's a breach of contract in front of you, then you don't take any. Since you claim you should have gotten 2 and taking 1 would not satisfy the contract, you shouldn't have taken
Well,
any.
I took the 1 puppy because she threatened to sell it, and I did.
I didn't threaten.
I
I
did
didn't
want
threaten.
the. I
I
did
didn't
want the
threaten.
puppies. You
Evidence
did. You
do
told
you want to show me, ma'am?
on page 5 and 6. In the middle of page 5, $50. That was for the service, and then message 2 puppies. Yes, 2 puppies. And then on page 6, we never had a discussion. We just jumped into them hooking up and mating. After they tied for the first time, you mentioned to me about stud fees, which was $1,000 or $5,000. I've been thinking that she would have a litter of 6 and I would get 2. I am keeping 1 and selling 1 if she only has 4 ? And then she wanted to go to, well, I'll give you $1,000 or $5,000.
That's not true either.
for a
That's
stud
not
fee.
true either.
It's in black and white down
That's
here,
not true.
Jasmine.
And I have my reply here.
It's in black and white.
You all never really had a meeting of the minds.
Absolutely.
So,
I don't agree
but
with
what
that.
we do know, ma'am, is that you up front knew when you took that 1 that that's all it would be.
No,
knew it
I
wouldn't
She
be
also
two.
circled, Judge, on
Excuse
page
me, Your
9.
Honor, I
gave-
did not
On page
know that.
9, she also
All right,
circled
Jasmine,
one puppy.
I am taking a girl. I would like to pick her out. There are 2, she says. So my point is, you acknowledge and state that you're picking 1. That is months ago. How now do you sue for only taking the 1 that you knew you were getting?
I filed the complaint, Your Honor, because I felt threatened and intimidated, and I felt that if I didn't get the 1 dog, I would get no dogs
What
out
would
of
happen to
out
you?
of the litter. I would get no dogs out of the
All right,
litter.
so you made that judgment to take 1. Why are you suing her for
I'm
something?
suing her because we initially agreed that I would get 2 puppies out of the deal.
And then when
I
there
should
were-
have gotten 2
Yeah.
puppies out of the deal
Yeah.
because of the way things were
And when you don't- and
developed.
when you don't finish, you can
when
talk
I
over me all
filed for
you
breach of
want.
contract, it was then
Your
that
claim
I
is dismissed.
understood.
It's dismissed.
Okay.
Yours is granted for
Thank
losing
you
your wages
so much.
today. You're being unreasonable,
so
ma'am.
much.
You knew you were only getting 1 when you went to get that 1. You settled for 1 instead of 2. Have a good
I
day.
didn't settle for
Just-
1.
Your
I
claim is
settled
dismissed.
for what I did my big time. You ain't made no $2,500.
Oh, you want to see it? We have it. I do.
No.
I own a
Yeah, 'cause
successful
you a
business.
rig, you
That's
a
why
cheat,
you came to
and
me.
you a greedy
after 8
hussy
years. That's why you
that's
sought.
out to
That's why you
just-
sought
to
me out,
just
right?
get- yeah.
That's why you sought me out,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm
Right.
a horrible groomer and I don't
Right.
make that much
'Cause you
money,
are.
right?
Plaintiff Melissa Merrill says the defendant is her brother, but he's 9 years older than her, and they grew up in different households. Melissa is suing her brother today for truck damages. Defendant Frank Tichy says Melissa went through a rough period in her life, and the 2 of them weren't close for a while. But recently they got back in touch and have been spending more time together. Frank does not believe he's responsible for the truck damages.
Start with you.
So this is my brother, Frank. He's 9 years older than me. We grew up separately. He grew up with my grandparents. I grew up with my grandmother. My mother, my father, and then social services. He was older than me, so, he was out doing his thing on the weekend, and I couldn't do half of what he could do. So I guess there was maybe a little bit of jealousy there, but...
Like what type of things?
I don't know. Out with his friends. I'm 10, so he's not going to want to be hanging out with his 10-year-old sister. And
My mother made my brother take me, and he was 6 years older than me. So when he was 16 and started driving, I was 10 and would be in the back seat or wherever I would be, and him and his buddy, we'd be doing all kind of wrong stuff. And that's how I turned into a hoodlum at age 10. But how did you all get along?
we got along well. Like I said, I'm sure he didn't want to be hanging out with his little sister, but we didn't have a bad relationship.
Okay. Back at home, you weren't a tattletale. You didn't tell on everything you saw him do?
No.
You have other
If
siblings
you
that
knew
live?
him back then, no.
Okay, good. Well, you were a good little sister. I used to come back and report everything I could if my brothers didn't let me share in the trouble. That was the part. You got to share it. Whatever wrongdoing you're doing, you got to share it. So your other siblings, how old, if any? I can remember.
I have a younger brother. He's 3 years younger than me. So I'm 35, he's 33.
All 3 of you got along well?
Yeah.
Good. Give me some background, sir, before we get into the truck damages.
Your Honor, my mother had me at a very young age. She had me at 15. I was a hidden baby. My grandfather didn't know about me until the day my mother went into labor. So I was raised by my grandparents. Obviously, she was 15 at the time and wasn't the most fit to raise a child. So my grandparents took over the responsibility of raising me. And, 9 years later comes along my sister and then my little brother. And by that time, she was married to their father and they lived together in their own house before things kind of went a little bit sideways with that relationship. And she went down a tough road for a long time, but she's been working very hard to straighten herself out and redeem herself in our lives and stuff like that. So, we're proud of her on that note, but there was
How
a
about
point
you?
in
You
time
ever
where-
had any problems?
Yes, sir, I have had some
And
problems
then you
in the
got
past.
past yours. Now let's get
Yes,
this
sir.
picture right.
Oh,
She was
yeah,
10
well-
and you were 19. She's seeing all this nonsense that you're doing, and you influencing her. Whether she was
also,
doing it or not,
right?
she knew of you doing it. And now that she's not so lucky, you want to act like you're an angel and she's been the devil all these years.
Oh,
she
no
learned
way.
it from
No
you. She learned it from you.
Yes, sir. I wouldn't doubt it. I'll take responsibility.
She listening to grandmama and granddad. That boy, he was out all night and I smell weed all over him. And when he comes,
wow, did you look me up or something?
Right, see? I know my storytelling, but nonetheless, she came around, you came around. What has your life been like?
Things are okay, and I'll be honest with you, since your show has gotten us in contact, it's actually brought us closer back together, and I've gotten to start to rebuild the relationship with my nephew and my sister, and we've done dinner a couple of times, and we're mending some fences, and
good.
This show has a big part to do with that.
Good, thank you. Thank you. Let me hear about the truck damages we're suing about here, ma'am.
So I have to look back, but I think it was on May 11th, 2020. He texted me and said his car broke down the night before. It was in the shop. He needed a car. He needed to look for a job, and he needed to look for a new apartment. So I told him I was skeptical. I had never rented a car before. I told him I felt comfortable if we added insurance. So he said, okay, we'll get the insurance. No big deal. And as you can see on page 2, Your Honor, it's the rental agreement where the insurance is added on.
Okay.
And he was added on as a driver.
All right.
There were 2 extensions on that truck. We renewed the truck 2 times.
Okay.
We had an agreement to meet up to bring the truck in. He at that time said he wanted to get a car. He didn't want to get a truck. So I couldn't get a hold of him that morning. He had overslept. I went to his residence, and that's where I saw that the truck had damage. I confronted him. He said he had an accident on the highway, that a semi came into his lane, and that he hit the Jersey barrier, and he spun out on the highway and landed on the other side of the highway. He told me that his phone was dead, so he didn't get to call a tow truck, so he just drove it 2 exits away. I had called the rental place. I told them about the accident. They informed me that I needed to call my insurance company. About a week later, I got a message from them saying that because he was not on my policy, that they weren't covering the damages. So that invoice is on page 18. That says that they're denying the claim for the truck.
What about the rental car insurance?
So at that time, and this is where I take responsibility, I was naive. I didn't check the paperwork that was emailed to me. So at that time, I noticed that the rental insurance was not added on. So I don't know if that didn't get added on the second time or the third time.
Who was there to discuss the insurance that the rental car company provided? Were you there?
I was there, but he had filled it out on his phone.
There were no discussions regarding insurance? You didn't hear any discussion and them say you want insurance?
The insurance was initially added the first time we got the truck.
That's the first time, but what's in discussion is the third time. You said you don't know if it was
I guess
renewed.
I just assumed that he would add it on because I told him that I wanted the insurance.
I'm trying to make sure whose duty it was to confirm that there was insurance. And if it was him talking to the rental car company, sir, it was your duty. Tell me about this rental car and lack of insurance.
So she helped me out big time. The transmission in my truck had gone, and I didn't have a car. I was in the middle of moving out of an apartment. So I asked her if she would help me out. She agreed to do that. I had the truck for, I want to say, about 3 weeks the first time. Then we went back and did it again. And then the third time, I had called a couple of days before, and I told them that I was thinking about switching into another car. I didn't need the big truck anymore. I was going to get like a smaller car or something else. And the guy said, your sister is leasing her vehicle. She has top tier insurance. Like, you're going to save a couple of $100s by not getting the insurance. And I kind of went with that. He said that, she has the best insurance. You have nothing to worry about. You're taking great care of the car. Like, no problem. And then, of course, I'm driving on the highway and I get ran off the road by a Mack truck. And honestly, I'm pretty lucky that it was like in the middle of like the really serious COVID time when there were no cars on the road. Because if this would have happened during like, non-COVID time, there's a good chance I could have been dead, because I spun out, the truck stalled, and I was just, the Mack truck took off. And I'm like trying to like start it, but like, I'm just such a panic that I don't even realize that I have to put the truck back in park to get it to start. So that took me a couple of seconds to like get my bearings. I'm facing the wrong way on the highway. So finally I get the truck started. I take it back to where I'm living. And yeah, I was definitely very afraid to tell my sister about the situation. And then I think it was 2 weeks later, we just got blindsided with this bill saying we owe $5,500. And
well, they did their investigate. They did an investigation and couldn't determine that it was a third-party fault. Is that what happened? They said, well, we can't determine it's somebody else's fault, so we can't cover it because it was your fault. Is that what the letter pretty much said?
Your Honor, it said that he wasn't on my policy, so they couldn't cover it. If it was my personal vehicle, they could, but not the rental.
I felt awful about the situation. I'll be honest, like, I obviously didn't have $5,500 to pay. I went about it the complete wrong way. I started avoiding her.
But the good news is, you don't need $5,500. That's good. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about having $5,500. So,
right.
Yeah, 5,500. Don't worry about that. Just worry about having 5,000. Judgment for the plaintiff, $5,000. No need for 5,500, just 5,000. You're liable, sir. Ultimately, it comes down to the driver. Folks should know that you just can't tear up a person's car and say, well, I don't owe you because you got insurance. Yes, you do. You are responsible for every dime. 5,000 is your judgment, not 5,500. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
I just want to keep, building our relationship, put this past us, and hope we can move on from here.
I'm so grateful for this opportunity, for this to be on the show. And, like I said, the show has brought us back together as a family. And I'm getting to, see my nephew and spend time with my nephew again and my sister and cook them dinner and hang out and be a normal family again. And I'm just looking forward to, continue building that relationship.